Children, today we are going to study about the disasters that we face in our life. Disasters means those heavy losses which are caused either by nature or by man. So disasters can be of two types, that is natural and man-made. Let's study what are natural and man-made disasters. So as I told you, a disaster is an odd event which can cause a large scale destruction of life and property on the earth. And disaster can occur suddenly, like we have the earthquakes, the floods, the tsunamis, the volcanic eruptions in Japan and many other countries. So these cause heavy losses. They cause a lot of damage to life and property. This is what is called disaster. So when we face the earthquakes, floods, and volcanic eruptions. So these are caused by nature. This is natural and this can happen anytime. So these are called natural disasters. Now, the threat of disaster is called the hazard, while the event in itself is called the disaster. So, a hazard can become a disaster when it hits any area and affects the routine lifestyle of the people. Like when a cyclone hits a barren area, then it is a hazard. But if it causes the loss of life and property, then it becomes a disaster. So children, you can understand what is the difference between hazard and disaster. They have same natural calamity, but the damage of life and property is the main difference. In hazard, it doesn't cause a lot of life and property damage, but in disaster, it causes the loss of life and property in a extreme condition. Now, the natural disasters are caused due to natural reasons like the geographic and climatic factors. And some of the countries are disaster prone areas which cause a lot of destruction to the infrastructure and large scale deforestation is caused. So here we can see the flow chart where it defines that disasters can be of two types, that is natural disaster and man-made disaster. Natural disasters include earthquakes, cyclones, volcanic eruptions, floods, tsunami, drought, landslides, desertification, etc. And man made disasters can be fire, accidents, traffic, chemical, industrial, and nuclear disasters, warfare, biological disasters, terrorist attacks. These are the big damages that cause a lot of loss of life and property. Now, the man made disasters are mainly caused due to various human activities. It may be scientific or it may be technological developments that can increase the human miseries in the form of accidents leading to disasters. Common man made disasters include rail, road, and air accidents, fire in residential and commercial buildings, fires in the forested areas due to human errors, collapse of buildings and bridges, and many more factors. Now, disaster management and its importance. So, it is very important to manage all these kind of disasters. So, when we face these kind of disasters, we take proper precautions so that this kind of disaster doesn't happen again. So every year, millions of people in different parts of the world suffer injuries, deaths, and damages of buildings and infrastructures due to different types of disasters. So the disaster management involves planning, actions, and processes which are designed to prevent, control, and lessen the impacts of disaster. Now let's see how we can manage the disaster. First, awareness about the occurrence of a disaster. So, the geographical department that awares us for the disasters or natural calamity that may be caused within a few time. Then, planning and monitoring of pre-disaster preparedness. So, we should plan that if a disaster happens, then how should we take the precautions so that loss of life and property can be minimized. Proper and timely help and rescue operations during the disaster. So when disaster happens by chance, then there should be proper rescue operations and help should be provided on time. Then all types of medical and other reliefs to the victims after the disaster has occurred. And damage assessment and rehabilitation of the affected people should be made. Now, what is the function of a disaster management team? So, in order to cope with these disasters, then we have the disaster management made. So, disaster management team is also made, and let's see what are the functions of it. First, the teams of disaster management can avoid the occurrence of a disaster through advanced proper planning, such as in the case of floods, fires, accidents. We can make a proper planning how to cope with the situation. They can definitely reduce the loss of life and property by reaching the site of disasters immediately and take the necessary and timely actions. So this management team can take proper action when there is a disaster, when there is a loss of life and property. So when they reach the site of disaster, they take proper actions to help them. Then the members in the team of disaster management are well trained to carry out the rescue operation work at the time of floods. The disaster management team and other agencies cooperating with them can help in providing food, medicines, and also set up relief camps for the victims of disasters. Then, if there is a forecast about the possible occurrence of a disaster, this disaster management team can provide a lot of help to reduce the miseries of the people. Then, the disaster management team can provide help in reducing the trauma and tension also. Now, before the occurrence of a disaster such as flood, fire, earthquake, etc., the disaster management teams can educate the people to face the floods, fires, earthquakes, and all kind of uh, damages that can cause. Then this team can guide and help the victims to get financial help from the government. So they have that kind of a function so that they can help those victims of the disasters to get help from the government. Now, safety measures in case of floods. So, what kind of safety measures can be taken? Normally, floods occur when the water in the rivers, streams, lakes, etc., overflows and submerges the agricultural fields. So, human settlements and transport infrastructure in the surrounding low lying areas can be changed. So, they can be made aware of the floods that can occur due to rainfall or due to the increase in the level of rivers, streams, or lakes. So, this team helps in maintaining the or minimizing the loss. The main causes for the occurrence of floods are heavy rainfall, bursting of clouds, cracks in the embankments of rivers or canals, and these kind of things can often cause um, are caused by the cyclonic or rainfall or landslides. Now, as we see that deforestation and shifting cultivation are two important man-made causes of floods. So, because of the deforestation or cutting of plants and trees and shifting cultivation, this kind of things can cause a lot of damage by causing floods to that area. Then floods can cause a heavy loss. So, a damage of property, infrastructure, natural environment can be taken care of, and it can spread epidemic like cholera. So this kind of floods also causes a lot of hazards and after effects also, like cholera, diarrhea, and many kind of skin diseases and abdominal disorders can be uh, the effect of these floods. So then we can take the safety measures so that we can prevent flood from affecting us. First, we should be very aware and listen to the warnings that are given in the radio and TV regularly. Then, We should locate those areas which are higher in the nearby regions so that we can shift to that area when there is a flood. Then we can find the routes to the nearest safe shelters in advance, and we can avoid the flood water of unknown depth and be careful about the snakes in flood water. So these kind of things can be taken care of. Keep adequate stocks of fresh water, dry food articles, first aid kit, salt, sugar, and candles, and all kind of requirements can be stocked out. Then sandbags should be used to block the toilets and cover the drains. This can prevent the backflow of sewage. Then the main switch of house and all electric appliances should be disconnected to avoid electrical short circuits. So these are the precautions that we can take, and apart from that, we should start drinking boiled water, and purified bottled water can be used for cooking also. Then bleaching powder and lime for disinfecting the surrounding areas and houses should be used. Then take help from the government sponsored disaster management teams and other approved social agencies, and take their help and be safe during the floods also. Now, this is all for today, children, and we will continue with the other part in our next chapter. So, read these kind of things and stay aware of all the situations that can happen in your life due to flood, and you should be well aware of the situation. So, before taking help, you should always be aware and listen to the warnings that are given in radio and television regularly. So, watching news is also a part of our life. It is an important activity for our life. So, it can also be taken care of. So, take care and have a nice day. Bye bye.